Hi everyone, it's great to be here and have this opportunity today to present to you. My name is Greg Cole and I work in the product team along with David Cole, who's joining me to take us through the demo. Equisys are the creators of Zetadocs, and today we will be demonstrating to you our Zetadocs Capture AP Automation, our accounts payable automation solution for Business Central that accelerates invoice processing using next generation document capture technology. We'll show you how it works and what makes our solution stand out from the other AP solutions available. So let me provide a little context and some specific benefits about AP automation and intersperse that with a demo of each feature so that you know what to look out for when selecting an AP automation solution for Business Central. Our solution uses next-generation document capture technology that uses AI to extract data from supplier invoices and automatically enters it into Business Central as purchase invoices. AI makes the solution ready to use without the initial setup of vendor templates that older generation solutions use. Zetadocs Capture also gets smarter the more you use it, as it remembers any changes you make for next time. So David, why don't you show us Smart Invoice Capture in action?
Sure, thanks, Greg. So when using Zetadocs AP Automation, all the work is done by the finance team using a document queue within Business Central, as you can see now. So this queue essentially is a list of all the invoices that you've received in from your vendors or suppliers, in which multiple people within a finance team can work through and process these invoices. So there's a number of options around how you get these invoices onto the system, but the way we recommend and the easiest way is for us to automatically pull the invoices that you receive from your suppliers from a particular mailbox. So if you have a particular mailbox they will come into, then Zetadocs can pull those invoices through automatically and place them in this queue. Once they're in this queue, it's simply a case of selecting the invoice that you want to process, and Zetadocs then does the work for you to extract the data from the invoice so that you don't have to manually rekey up. And in a moment, you'll see the Zetadocs preview screen appear, which will show you the information that Zetadocs has captured. Now, this smart invoice capture is all being done by Microsoft Forms Recognizer cloud service, which is ready to use as soon as you've installed the Zetadocs service with no need to create templates for each of your vendors, as Greg mentioned. So now here you see the preview screen appear, where on the right-hand side here, we've got a view of the original invoice we've received from our supplier. And on the left-hand side here is a view of all the information that's been captured. And the idea here is that the finance person has the opportunity to check that they're happy with what's been captured and to make any amendments that may or may not need to be made. So at the header level here, you can see we've picked up a vendor name, we've picked up the date, we've picked up the subtotal that's on the invoice, and it's all looking good. Now, in this case, the vendor here is populated for us because we found a match between the vendor name we've picked up and that in Business Central. But if it wasn't, then it would simply be a case of selecting it from the list here. And you would only need to do that once because the next time round, Zetadocs would remember any mappings that you set on this screen. If we look at the line levels here, you can see we've got a handful of lines where the unit cost, quantities, etc. have all been picked up as we would expect. For 4 of these items, we've previously purchased these, and Zetadocs is remembering the information that's been set on these lines, i.e. the GL accounts that we've mapped them to. But there's actually an item here that we have purchased for the first time, and so we haven't got a previous mapping for that. So we need to enter that manually in this case, but as I said previously with the vendor, when you set these mapping once on this screen, Zetadocs will remember that going forward. So now that we're happy with all this information that's been captured and made the changes that we needed to make, we can simply go ahead and click OK, and Zetadocs will now get a new purchase invoice created in Business Central for us with all this information entered automatically for you. And there you can see all the information on the purchase invoice, and on the right-hand side here, we've got the Zetadocs fact box, which contains a copy of the original vendor invoice for easy retrieval later if needed. And with that, I'll hand you back over to Greg.
That's great. Thank you, David. So Zetadocs Capture will automatically match line level data on purchase invoices to purchase orders, filtering out non-receipted items to ensure invoices are only paid after the goods or services are received. There are also options for Zetadocs to auto-receipt for specific vendors, maybe like a utility supplier, or even post some types of invoices directly in Business Central to give you additional levels of control and time savings. David, why not let's show Zetadocs Capture processing a PO-based invoice?
Sure. So here on screen again, then you see the Zetadocs preview screen where we've got an invoice that's come in from a supplier which is based off a PO. And you can see in this case, we do actually have a PO on the invoice. And again, you've got the preview screen here with the information that's been pulled through. But in this case, we don't need to spend much time on this screen because we want to jump to the stage of matching these lines through to the relevant PO. And we can do that by clicking on the button on the top left here to take us to the Zetadocs order matching screen. And what Zetadocs has done here is automatically match the invoice lines we've got here to the relevant purchase order lines. It only matches to the purchase order lines that have been receipted. And you can see here that a couple of the lines have been matched fully, as shown by the green highlighting. And for some of the other lines in the yellow highlighting here, there's a partial match, i.e. we've got, for example, 8 on the purchase order line here as the quantity, and only 4 on this line, because obviously it looks like it's being invoiced in a couple of different stages. And at the top here, we've got useful information where it's saying that we've got 0 remaining to be matched because we've matched the full value of this invoice. So with that, we're all happy that the matching has been done, and we can click close here to go back to the invoice preview screen. And the thing you'll notice here is that, first of all, we've added a comment line here to reference the purchase order that we've matched these lines back to. And you'll also notice here that all the lines here have now been mapped to the relevant item in Business Central for us. And this is all done based off the purchase order that we're linking to. And it will also set the description here as per the PO if it's different from what came in from the vendor invoice. And again, there we can just click OK, and Zetadocs will go ahead and create a new purchase invoice in Business Central for us. And as we saw previously, all the information is entered automatically for us, and a copy of the original vendor document is available in the fact box here if we wanted it. And I'll pass back over to Greg.
That's great, David. Zetadocs Capture simplifies your AP approval workflow with instant access to the original invoice to verify against when approving in Business Central. These original vendor documents are centrally archived on Microsoft 365 SharePoint Online for secure access across the organization. So David, let's now show the simplified approval process with Zetadocs Capture.
Sure, thanks, Greg. So here you can see an unposted purchase invoice that Zetadocs has created and has been submitted for approval. And the person responsible for approving now has easy access to the original document that we received from the vendor, alongside, of course, all the information that was extracted from that invoice. And they can easily click on that to view that document that's stored on SharePoint. And they can then make their decision to approve or otherwise the document. Back over to you, Greg.
Excellent, David. Thank you so much. So now you've seen each of these features in action. Zetadocs AP Automation is priced on a per invoice basis, so it's really easy to start without a big upfront commitment. And there are also volume discounts available to reduce the cost per invoice as you get going.